Did you know Valve once planned to add a bow and arrow to Counter-Strike and even once had a Dust 3? Or what about this unreleased knife, which even Gabe Newell held up for a photo? Over the years, there have been a bunch of Counter-Strike leaks that just never made it to the game. So let's go over 150 unreleased things from Counter-Strike. Starting with the M48 Tomahawk. This was a tactical axe leaked in CSGO that had the view model references for it to be a knife. Back in July 2014, Valve removed files for the Tomahawk, Bowie, and Classic knife before they were both released years later. We never got an official model for the Tomahawk, but it is based on the real-life version. Twinblade is also a leaked knife. It appeared at the start of the CS2 beta with the Kukri knife. The Twinblade had this HUD image leak, but also this loadout icon. These are our only official looks at the Twinblade, but with the Kukri making it into the game, could this be next? There was also the unreleased custom knife. It's not actually called custom knife, but that is what it was described as. Danica Wright, a former Valve artist, shared the knife in their profile along with the default T-knife, described as a counter-terrorist optional knife for CSGO, modeled off a real-life custom knife created for the game. We saw Gabe Newell hold up this knife in this picture, but it seems like Valve decided to keep it unreleased. This video is partnered with SkinPlace, the easiest way for you to cash out your skins, as once you sign in and pick the items you want to sell, you just choose from different delivery methods. Once you pick the one you like and click receive money, it won't be long until you see the payment in your account. All you need to do is use code WATER for an extra 3% when you cash out your skins. They even have a bonus system, so the more you sell, the more you earn. Check out SkinPlace today. They were also working on a new sniper rifle, the TAC-21. Originally leaked in 2014 with 2 new sound files, shoot and shoot distance, in January 2016 Valve added new files for the TAC-21, implying that they were still working on it, as it included inspect animations. In May 2016, more sound files were added. This time it was for TAC-21 bolt, interrupt, fail, and success, but this wasn't it, as 1 month later in June 2016, more sound files were added, but one of them was that it could be silenced. In 2017, during Operation Hydra, Valve added 2 animation sequences and was also mentioned in a different item file. Since then, it has been silent for the TAC-21, but it makes you wonder what was Valve's plan, as we had all these leaks, but no official looks at the TAC-21. Talking about official looks, in the official CSGO and CS2 logos, you may notice the guy isn't even holding a weapon that's in the game. The SCAR-17 was cut from CSGO very early, originally planned as a counter-terrorist rifle, as it had very similar stats to the M4A4 during the CSGO beta. They even had this cut achievement for you to get kills with this gun, and it's even still in your game stats for shots, hits, and kills. There have been voice lines, textures, and even the console version of CSGO had the SCAR-17 script leaked. Whatever the reason, Valve decided to not release this gun, but it is remembered through the logo. Another leak is the compound bow, which was added to the CSGO game files in 2016. We never got a look at the model, but the leak revealed the mechanics of the bow. Players would need to hold their fire button, which would pull the arrows back before firing. The arrow would hit with a light or heavy force. There were even different bow variants, or the ability to attach grenades to the bow, as it had every grenade except the decoy. With the bow, there were arrows leaked with it. Not only did we already mention that arrows had 2 different forces for you to shoot, but they also had a flying time, meaning it's not a hit scan weapon. There also was a command, arrow max, which would change how many arrows a player could hold, similar to max ammo. Valve even accidentally leaked the double barrel shotgun, which was unreleased for CSGO that may have been left behind. In the give all weapons list, there was weapon D barrel. Afterwards, Counter-Strike had no other mentions of this gun. There was the Striker though. This was leaked at the start of CSGO in the alpha and beta of the game, as it was mentioned by the announcer and even was in the UI folder. It was also mentioned in the auto buy files for the game, implying that the Striker was indeed an unreleased shotgun. It was theorized it was going to be based on the real life Armzo Striker, which is a semi-auto 12 gauge shotgun. The Spatula. I'm not even joking, back in 2018 an unreleased item was added to the game files called a spatula. It had this HUD icon implying that it was a literal spatula. Was Valve trolling us, or did they actually want to add this into the game? For Counter-Strike features Valve leaked, there was the duffel bag. This had a bind menu function and also an icon. The exact use and how it was planned is not confirmed, but it's likely it was for the leaked heist mode. You probably have owned a skin that had a name tag on it, but Valve originally had plans to add a description tag. It would have been a single-use item and was described as customizes a weapon with a custom description, working similarly to the description tag in TF2. It would have allowed players to customize their skins a bit more. It's unknown why this feature never made it to the game, saying that what if Counter-Strike had Fortnite emotes? But actually, Valve was planning this before Fortnite with taunts, which got leaked in 2016. We did end up getting end match animations in CS2, but no mid-game taunts. The files mentioned it would be usable in spawns and that you could just loop them. In June 2017, more commands and files popped up for taunts that implied that it had a custom camera view and even some unused audio leaked.
All right, beautiful day. Woo! Boom! Boom! Camera's ready. Check it out, ladies. Come and get it. Come and get it. Yep. Don't mind me. Yep, don't mind me. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Ha ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha ha! Hey, where y'all at? Hey, where y'all at? Hoo-yah! Hoo-yah! Pretty sure I got this. Pretty sure I got this. I'm just gonna stand here and do this for a second. It's just my day-to-day, I guess. Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Na 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 na. Ah, sun's out, guns out. Sun's out, guns locked, loaded and shiny as hell. Sun's out, guns locked, loaded and shiny as hell. Too good, baby. Too good, baby. Yeah. What's up, fools? What is up? What's up, fools? What is up? Who wants this? Woo! 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 Woohoo! Woohoo! Woo! 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 Yeah. 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 Feels good. There we go. Yep. Yep. Yep.
In this same June 2017 update, keychains leaked for CSGO. They added multiple models in the game, like an AK, banana, and more, showcasing that this was a cosmetic Valve worked on. More recently, the CS2 files even had mentions of them as well, so it could be something Valve is planning. We even had a leak for a feature called Tones. This was cut from CSGO very early on, as it was removed from the files in 2014. It had sound files under Music, Tones, with some labeled under Valve Sweden MP3. There were others for Valve USA, so it seemed to be some sort of customization similar to music kits. There were also tones leaked with the label of CSGO Taunt. Let's talk about the Heavy Riot leak. Heavy Riot is an unreleased enemy player that had its model added to the game files in 2016. In 2017, when Valve tried to remove the files, they added more, which showed that parts of the Heavy Riot were also using parts of the Heavy Counter-Terrorist, which was also in Operation Hydra. The Heavy Riot would have been one of the very few enemies to have the Heavy Assault suit. Talking about unreleased characters, CSGO actually had a zombie. This model from Left 4 Dead was added to the game in 2012 in one of the beta updates. Around this time, they also released this Brains blog post mentioning how they have been working with zombie mods for a bit for them to be operating. This is why you might have seen this zombie in any community server, as it was commonly used for zombie escape and survival. So Valve added this zombie model to the game, but never used it for any official Valve modes or Halloween events. There was also the Sonic Smoke Grenade. Added to the game files in 2017, it appeared to be some sort of customizable grenade. There were multiple different sound files for it. Some of them are for when the grenade started and detonated. There was even others that were named after different music artists and bands. So it seems like this grenade had some customization options, but just hasn't been released. At the start of the CS2 beta, a pipe was found in the files. It only mentioned that it was a pipe, so it's unknown if it's an actual melee weapon or if it's a pipe bomb like Left 4 Dead. As well as this, a bear trap has been leaked. In 2018, we saw this HUD icon, but then in the CS2 beta, Valve added the entire model. It's expected that you will be able to place these traps and catch other players in Danger Zone 2. Talking about traps, there was also the trap fire that got leaked, which is meant to be used as a tripwire that creates fire in a certain area. The trap fire was first mentioned in 2019, but then for the CS2 beta, we got a model for it, but it still hasn't been released. The sonar pulse is another unreleased item for Danger Zone. We know this because back in 2016, it was labeled with a survival spawn point, and just due to the item name, you can assume it's some sort of sonar technology. Now, of course, for unreleased game modes, we need to mention Danger Zone. Of course, it was already released in CSGO, but CS2 leaks hint at fresh content like the new items we talked about. We will also just include all the other unreleased game modes from CSGO that just haven't been added to CS2 yet, like retakes or demolition. But for unreleased modes that haven't seen an official release at all, it includes the heist mode, and you may know it as the escort mode. This is where the CTs to win, they had to escort the APC to the escape zone, defuse the C4 after it was planted, or eliminate all terrorists after the bomb was planted. The terrorist objective was to plant their C4 on the APC and protect it from any CT trying to defuse or just kill any enemy. The APC had a path that would always follow, very similar to the popular escort mode you may know from Overwatch, but just never made it to Counter-Strike. Bounty Hunter was a scraped mode for war games. It was a free-for-all where every enemy would drop a dog tag for you to collect and gain points. Now, Valve did release the Hunter-Gatherers mode, which was similar, but instead of it being a free-for-all, it was team-based. There was also the Bloodletter mode. One of the more interesting ideas for unreleased game modes, whatever damage you dealt is the amount of health you gained. As well as this though, as players would be alive, they would be taking damage, making it so you would always want to deal damage to get more health. Valve was even working on a scavenger mode. During the alpha of CSGO, the objective was to find weapons throughout the map and eliminate the other team to win the round. But then it would be the first to 6 to win the entire match. There were even 3 unreleased CSGO achievements for scavengers. Next, there was an unreleased mode called Tile Gen. This one has a little bit less info, but it was added in 2016 to an error message about game modes letting you know which ones are in the game, and Tile Gen was listed. Although Counter-Strike likes to add community-made maps, there have been Valve-created ones that were left unreleased. Like in 2021 for Operation Riptide, Valve added a co-op map, Winter. In the game files, there were a few things like trees and shrubs. In one operation earlier in Broken Fang, Valve leaked a Danger Zone map, Fall, with trees and other foliage models found. In 2017, an unreleased map was added to the game files for Arms Race, and it was called Baloney. Another unreleased Arms Race map was AR Grease, which the only thing that is known is this single texture file. There was also the Diffusal map DE Glass that Valve added in a 2017 update. There was another Diffusal map, DE TV Station, which had 2 different models in the game files. Now, there were a few maps that they decided to cut for the release of CSGO, but were available before, like DE Belkin. It was a remade version of the Counter-Strike Condition Zero map, Vostok. Another map Valve left out of the release of CSGO was DE Cranes. During the beta, this map has no models, but it is assumed to have taken place on some docks. There was also a map called DE Alleyway. It was a demolition map where the bomb area is a tanker truck. Here was an unreleased achievement for this map alleyway. Valve also had DE Depot. Before it was left in the beta, there was the Depot achievement for 5 wins. Overall, the map centered around a Russian rocket facility. DE Embassy is another map Valve left behind that seemed to be set in the United Kingdom going by a few of the models. The map also had a cut achievement. DE Lighthouse also got cut by Valve, and as you can guess, it was on a shoreline around a lighthouse. It is assumed this map is based on the Left 4 Dead map, The Lighthouse. During the CS2 beta, we got screenshots of a few unreleased maps for Swords 2. A bunch of them eventually released, but there are still a few of them which haven't, like Canals. After it was seen, not much is really known about it since. We also got to see a picture of Source 2 Lake. There was Dust, which 2 months ago Valve added this chair into the Dust file, which might be a prop that will be on the next version. Valve also just straight up showed a clip of Train in their CS2 trailer, but has yet to release it. It is assumed the delay is because Valve is just remaking the map. There are maps that we know are being remade for CS2, like Cobblestone, which had a bunch of new snow related files. There is no snow in any of the previous versions, so you can assume Valve is remaking the map for CS2. On this same point, although we are talking about Valve created maps, it is worth mentioning Cache, as it is one of the most liked maps from previous Counter-Strikes but is in the process of being remade for CS2. Another map which has been spotted for CS2 was Tuscan, as Valve added new strings. We also saw they bought the map right at the end of CSGO along with Anubis for 150k, but didn't really do anything with it since. Also, DE Mustang is another workshop map. This one has never been released officially, but in the CS2 files there was this icon for it. Now that we have had workshop maps released in CS2 and seen the official icons, it seems like this was planned for CSGO, but never came out. Now, Dust 3 is an actual leak that was found in 2023, but it was for Counter-Strike Source. The thing about this map is it only had one bomb site, and according to the Counter-Strike page on this map, it's said to have been updated over 570 times, with the last one being in 2010. But almost 15 years later, they have just kept Dust 3 unreleased. Agent Pack was leaked at the start of CS2. This was the actual image Valve had in the game files, implying it could be similar to other containers you open with different rarity agents inside. We still haven't seen an Agent Pack in CS2, but maybe it comes soon. As well as this, wearable items or clothing has been leaked in the past. There was mentions of this in the game files since 2013, but things heated up in 2016 when it was revealed that players would be able to customize their appearance by replacing multiple parts of their current models. There were even more files pointing towards custom clothing with different slots, and only a few months later in 2016, gloves were officially released. For other clothing options, helmets and vests were found in the files being labeled as a base, implying that there would be others that you can get. It has also not only been leaked, but in this early CSGO prototype, you will notice it had this same feature, but just never made it to the game, or at least it hasn't yet. Still talking about agents, MPSSC is an unreleased faction from CSGO. Its model and description was in the beta but never made it to the official release. As well as this, there was the Georgian Riot Police, very similar situation with it having a description and model. Now, there were actually other unreleased agent factions like the CIA, which can be spotted in this prototype of CSGO. The People's Liberation Army was also planned for CSGO with a male and female version but was cut. Now, Valve also had a few unreleased music kits, which were eventually removed from the files in 2014. The 5 unreleased music kits were CSGO Variant 4, TF2, Left 4 Dead 1, 2, and Portal 2. There were even a bunch of unreleased glove skins found in the files. A few of them got released, like these Vice gloves, but others didn't, like these red sport gloves. Another pair was the Sport Glove Fade. Although we have a Fade already, we don't have a Sport Glove version. The unreleased Mayan green gloves definitely stand out, but there were others like the Chainmail Night gloves, which also had a different variant, the Chainmail Gold. Bamboo is another unreleased glove skin. There was this Jaguar Purple. One of the more surprising are these Doppler gloves. This shows that Valve played around with the idea. I mean, we do have case hardened, fade, and marble gloves, so would Doppler be next? There were also these red beige ones. For some different cosmetics though, in 2020, different patches appeared in the game. One was the T logo and the other was the CT. We got to see what they looked like, but it seems like Valve decided to not release them. For skins, there have been a bunch of them that Valve kept unreleased throughout the years, but were added to the game files similar to the glove skin. Some may have been used for testing, while others may have just been scrapped for operations, like the Goodnight Scar 20. There's the AK-47 Wildfire, M4A4 Chrome Fade, UMP-45 Police, Meg-7 Restoration, P90 Randy Rush, Mac-10 Sneaky Beaky Bomb, Sawed-Off Fiery End, USPS Nostalgia, Tech-9 Ski Mask, M249 Arctic Avenger, AK-47 Classic Series, USPS Calligraphy, Scar 20 Lurker, Glock Aim Blast, Glock Shady, Tech-9 Dystopian, XM P90 Toy Blaster, CZ Badass Comic, Sawed-Off Offset, 5.7 Dark Dog, Glock Kerr Ceramics, UMP Watchdog Iron, AUG Irizumi, CZ Tooth Fairy, G3 SG1 Oculus, MP5 Nightmare Machine, FAMAS Despair, Tech-9 DE Aztec, Op Leshy, Nova Koshi, AK-47 Omen, M4A4 Goo, Deagle Necropos, UMP Pumpkin Party, Op Necro Gun, Glock Ezekiel, P90 Plague, Glock Mood. Some other unreleased skins include this Pink Panther M4A4, M31S Quantum, and the 5.7 Tsunami. Others which were found during the CS2 beta include the SG55 Torn Camo Desert, SG55 Prey, Tech9 Circuit Board Purple, UMP Motherboard, UMP 45 Plaid, USPS Blue DD-Pat, USPS Torn Camo Tan, USPS Violet Webs, XM Urban DD-Pat, XM Red Ducks, AK-47 Gold Brick, AK-47 Purple Laminate, AK-47 Violet Laminate, AK-47 White Laminate, AUG Carbon Fiber, AWP Tiger Silver, AWP Whiteout, AWP Full Stop, PP Bison Tuxedo, CZ75 Spotted Camo Tan, Deagle Circuit Board Orange, Deagle Gold Brick, Deagle Tiger Silver, Dooley's Forest Night, Dooley's Torn Camo Yellow, FAMOS Carbon Fiber, FAMOS Brush Camo Night, FAMOS Splatter, 5.7 Amber Fade, 5.7 Blueprint Sketch, Glock Carbon Fiber, Glock Case Hardened, P2000 Mutter, P2000 Blue DD-Pat, M4A4 Co-Processor, M4A4 Gold Flake, M4A4 AM Marble Violet, M4A4 Marble Violet, M4A1S Hypnotic, M4A1S Glock Emerald plus all the other phases, M4A1S Spotted Camo Purple, M249 Brush Camo Orange, Meg 7 Midnight Palm, MP5 SD Carbon Fiber, MP5 SD Case Hardened, MP5 SD Urban Rubble, MP5 SD Torn Camo Night, MP7 Green Ducks, Negev Polar Camo, Negev Brown Ducks, Nova Fade, Nova Silver, P90 Desert Dark, P90 Forest Night, P90 Blueprint Teal, P250 Ren Green, Sawed Off Blueprint Blue, Scar 20 Dark Water, SG Spotted Camo Orange. Now that we explored these leaks, it's clear some will never see the light of day. Take the spatula for instance, but exciting danger zone items like a bear trap that were updated in CS2, definitely worth keeping an eye on. I just wanted to archive all these different leaks to talk about what Counter-Strike could have been if they were released. I hope you enjoyed this video, so please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on all things Counter-Strike.